Hello Mark, I'm Winnie. My student number is SO441021. I'm going to read Every City Needs Healthy Honeybees from Noah Willison Rich. I'm a sophomore, majoring in English. This man is wearing what we call a bee beard. Laughter, a beard full of bees. Now, this is what many of you might picture when you think about honeybees. Maybe insects, or maybe anything that has more legs than two. And let me start by telling you, I gotcha. I understand that, but there are many things to know, and I want you to open your mind here. Keep them open and change your perspective about honeybees. Notice that this man is not getting stung. He probably has a queen bee tied to his chin, and the other bees are attracted to it. So this really demonstrates our relationship with honeybees, and that goes deep back for thousands of years. We are very clever because we depend on bees for pollination and even more recently as an economic commodity. Many of you may have heard that honeybees are disappearing, not just dying, but they are gone. We don't even find dead bodies. This is called colony collapse disorder and is bizarre. Researchers around the globe still do not know what's causing it, but what we do know is that with the declining numbers of bees, the cost of over 130 fruit and vegetable crops that we rely on for food is going up in price. So honeybees are important for their role in the economy as well as in agriculture. Here you can see some pictures of what are called green roofs or urban agriculture. We are familiar with the image on the left. That shows a local neighborhood garden in the south end. That's where I call home. I have a beehive in the backyard and perhaps a green roof in the future. When we are further utilizing urban areas where there are stacks of garden spaces. Check out this image above the orange line in Boston. Try to spot the beehive. It's there. It's on the rooftop right on the corner there, and it's been there for a couple of years now. The way that urban beekeeping currently operates is that the beehives are quite hidden, and it's not because they need to be. It's just because people are uncomfortable with the idea, and that's why I want you today to try to think about this. Think about the benefits of bees in cities and why they really are a terrific thing. Let me give you a brief rundown on how pollination works. So we know flowers, we know fruits and vegetables, even more alpha in hay that the livestock for the meats that we eat rely on pollinators. But you have got male and female parts to a plant here, and basically pollinators are attracted to plants for their nectar, and in the process, a bee will visit some flowers and pick up some pollen, or the male kind of sperm counterpart along the way, and then travel to different flowers and eventually an apple. In this case, will be produced. You can see the orientation. The stem is down, the blossom ain't as fallen off by the time we eat it, but that's a basic overview of how pollination works. And let's think about urban living, not today and not in the past. But what about in 100 years? What's it gonna look like? We have huge grand challenge this day of habitat loss. We have more and more people, billions of people in 100 years. God knows how many people and how little space there will be to fit all of them. So we need to change the way that we see cities. And looking at this picture on the left of New York City today, you can see how gray and brown it is. We have tar paper on the rooftop that bounces heat back into the atmosphere, contributed to global climate change, no doubt. What about in 100 years if we have green rooftop everywhere and garden, and we create our own crops right in the cities? We save on the cost of transportation, we save on healthier diet, and we also educate and create new jobs locally. We need bees for the future of our cities and urban living. Here's some data that we collected through our company with Best Bees, where we deliver, install, and manage honeybee hives for anybody who wants them in a city, in the countryside, and we introduce honeybees and the idea of beekeeping in your own backyard or rooftop or fire escape for even that matter, and seeing how simple it is and how possible it is. There's a counterintuitive trend that we notice in these numbers. So let's look at the first metric here, overwintering survival. Now, this has been a huge problem for many years, basically since the late 1918s, when the viral mites came and brought many different viruses, bacteria, and fungal diseases with it. Overwintering success is hard, and that's when most of the colonies are lost. And we found that in the cities, bees are surviving better than they are in the country. A bit counterintuitive, right? We think, oh, bees, countryside, agriculture, but that's not what the bees are showing. The bees like ants in the city. Furthermore, they also produce more honey. The urban honey is delicious. The bees in Boston on the rooftop of the Seaport Hotel, where we have hundreds of thousands of bees flying overhead right now that I'm sure none of you notice when we walk by, are going to all of the local community gardens and make it delicious, healthy honey that just tastes like the flowers in our city. So the yield for urban hives in terms of honey production is higher as well as the overwinter survival compared to rural areas. Again, a bit counterintuitive. And looking back historically at the timeline of honeybee hills, we can go back to the year 950 and see that there was also a great mortality of bees in Ireland. So the problems of bees today isn't necessarily something new. It has been happening since over 1,000 years ago. But what we don't really notice are these problems in cities. So one thing I want to encourage you to think about is the idea of what an urban insect is. You think in a city maybe a temperature warmer. Why are bees doing better in the cities? This is a big question now to help us understand why they should be in the city. Perhaps there are more pollen in the city. With the trains coming into urban hubs, they can carry pollen with them. Very light pollen, and it's just a big supermarket in the city. A lot of Latin trees live along the railroad tracks. Perhaps there are fewer pesticides in the cities than there are in rural areas. Perhaps there are other things that we are just not thinking about yet, but that's one idea to think about. Urban islands. And colony collapse disorder is not the only thing affecting honeybees. Honeybees are dying, and it's a huge grand challenge of our time. What you can see here is a map of the world, and we are tracking the spread of these viral mites. Now, the viral mite is what changed again in beekeeping, and you can see at the top right the years are changing. We are coming up to modern times, and you can see the spread of the varroa mite from the early 19th through now. It's 1968, and we are pretty much covering Asia. 1971, we saw it spread to Europe and South America, and then when we get to the 1980s, and specifically to 1987, the rural mine finally came to North America and to the United States, and that is when a game changer for honeybees is the United States. Many of us will remember our childhood growing up. Maybe you got stung by a bee. You saw bees on flowers. Think of the kids today. Their childhoods are a bit different. They don't experience this. The bees just aren't around anymore. So we need bees, and they're disappearing, and it's a big problem. What can we do here? So what I do is honeybee research. I got my PhD studying honeybee health. I started in 2005 studying honeybees. In 2006, honeybees started disappearing. So suddenly, like this title, there's a kid going to school working with bugs. Laughter became very relevant in the world, and it worked out that way. So my research focused on ways to make bees healthier. I don't research what's killing the bees. First, I'm not one of the many researchers around the world who looking at the effects of pesticides or disease or habitat loss and poor nutrition on bees. We are looking at ways to make bees healthier through vaccines, through yogurt like probiotics and other types of syrups in ways that can be fit orally to bees, and this process is so easy. Even a 7-year-old can do it. You just mix up some pollen, sugar, and water, and whatever active ingredients you want to put in, and you just give it right to the bees. No chemicals involved, just immune boosters. Humans think about our own health in a perspective way. We exercise, we eat healthy, we take vitamins. Why don't we think about honeybees in that same type of way? Bring them to areas where they are thriving and try to make them healthier before they get sick. I spent many years in grade school trying to poke bees and do vacuums with needles. After like years on the bench, oh my gosh, it's 3 a.m. and I'm still pricking bees. After, and then one day I said, why don't we just do an oral vacuum? It's like, so that's what we do after. I would love to share with you some images of urban beehives because they can be anything. I mean, really open your mind with this. You can paint a hive to match your home. You can hide a hive inside your home. These are 3 hives on the rooftop of the Fairmont Company Plaza Hotel. And they are beautiful here. I mean, we matched the new color of the insides of their rooms to do some type of standing roots with blue for their sheets. And these bees are terrific, and they also will use herbs that are growing in the garden. That's what the chefs go to use for their cooking. And the honey they do live events. They will use late honey at their bars. Honey is a great nutritional substitute for regular sugar because there are different types of sugars in there. We also have a classroom hives project where this is a non-profit venture. We are spreading the word around the world for how honeybee hives can be taken into the classroom or into the museum setting behind glass and used as an educational tool. This hive that you see here has been in Fenway High School for many years now. The bees fly right into the outfield of Fenway Park. Nobody notices it. If you are not a flower, these bees do not care about you. Later, they don't. They'll say, "Sucks me." Flying around, after some other image here and telling a part of the story that really made urban beekeeping terrific is in New York City. Beekeeping was illegal until 2010. That's a big problem because it was going to pollinate all of the gardens and produce locally. Hence, I mean locally in Boston. This is a terrific company called Green City Growers, and they are going and pollinated their grass crops by hand with Q-tips. And if they miss that 3-day window, there's no food. Their clients aren't happy, and people go hungry. So this is important. We have also some image of honey from Brooklyn. Now, this was a mystery in the New York Times, where the honey was very red, and the New York State Foreign Science Department came in and they actually did some science to match the red dye with that found in a Maraschino cherry factory down the street after, so you can tailor your honey to taste however you want by planting bee-friendly flowers. Paris has been a terrific model for urban beekeeping. They have had hives on the rooftop of their opera house for many years now, and that's what really got people started thinking, wow, we can do this and we should do this. Also in London and in Europe across the board, they are very advanced in their use of green rooftop and integrated beehives, and I will show you an ending note here. I would like to encourage you to open your mind. What can you do to save the bees, or to help them, or to think of sustainable cities in the future? Well, really just change your perspective. Try to understand that bees are very important. A bee isn't going to sting you if you see it. The bee dies. Honeybee die when they sting, so they don't want to do it either. After, it's nothing to panic about. They are all over the city. You could even get your own hive if you want. There are great resources available, and there are even companies that will help get you set up and mentor you, and it's important for our educational system in the world for students to learn about agriculture worldwide, such as this little girl, who again is not even getting stung. Thank you. Applause.